Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into the UN's COP30 climate conference, which just wrapped up in Belém, Brazil, right at the gateway to the Amazon. And let me tell you, this summit was a story of massive contradictions. We saw a huge step forward on money, but also a major standoff on the real root of the problem. So the big question is, was it a breakthrough, a breakdown, or something else entirely? The setting itself was just incredibly symbolic. I mean, bringing world leaders right to the edge of the Amazon rainforest, that sends a powerful message. It was branded as the Amazon COP, the Nature COP, a summit where protecting the natural world was supposed to be front and center. So as you can imagine, expectations were sky high. And right from the get-go, the host, Brazilian President Lula da Silva, he really framed the summit as this moment of truth. By calling it the COP of truth, he was basically putting the world on notice. He was challenging everyone to finally move past the denial and turn years of, let's be honest, empty pledges into some real, concrete action.
Okay, so let's start with the big win. This is the first side of the COP30 coin, a massive, and I mean massive, agreement on climate finance. This was the one area where negotiators really truly delivered a pivotal outcome.
The headline number was just staggering. Countries agreed to a new goal of mobilizing $1.3 trillion every single year by 2035. And this money is specifically for climate action in developing countries, the places that are facing the worst impacts but have the fewest resources to actually adapt and transition. And this is crucial. It wasn't just about cutting emissions. The deal included a promise to double the money available for what's called adaptation by 2025. That means helping vulnerable nations deal with the climate impacts that are already happening right now, from rising sea levels to more and more extreme weather. And it doesn't stop there. That commitment, it grows even stronger over the next decade, with a pledge to triple that adaptation finance by 2035. This escalating funding is really designed to match the escalating scale of the climate crisis. So this whole package, it was seen as a really clear signal of global solidarity. It aims to fund pretty much everything, from disaster recovery through the Loss and Damage Fund, which helps countries rebuild after climate disasters, all the way to speeding up the green transition with new initiatives. It's basically a comprehensive financial toolkit for a planet in crisis. So the mood coming out of these finance talks was incredibly optimistic. The UN's climate chief, Simon Steele, saw it as a major turning point, a signal that the world is finally ready to invest in a new, clean economy. But, and this is a big but, that is only half the story. Right, now for the other side of the coin. For all that amazing progress on finance, there was a major sticking point that cast this long shadow over the entire summit. The future of fossil fuels, the elephant in the room. And what's so interesting here is the gap between what everyone hoped for and what actually happened. More than 80 countries, they came to Belém pushing hard for explicit language to phase out fossil fuels. And for a minute there, it looked like it might happen. A draft text even included it. But then, in the final, frantic hours of talks, it was removed, gone, leaving only the weaker language from last year about transitioning away. So you might be thinking, okay, phase out, transition away. It seems like a small change in wording. What's the big deal? Well, the scientific stakes behind this wording are absolutely enormous. So here's the crucial point. Scientists, including Brazil's own Carlos Snowbury, they were issuing these really stark warnings during the summit. He said that without a clear commitment to a full phase-out, the world stays on a path towards catastrophic warming, risking the total collapse of entire ecosystems like the Amazon itself. But look, the story of COP30 isn't just about this one central conflict over finance and fossil fuels. If you look beyond the main negotiations, there was a huge wave of other commitments and voluntary actions announced. It really shows that momentum is building in a lot of different sectors. A key achievement here was something called the Muturon text, and this was a pretty clever negotiating move. They basically bundled 4 really difficult topics together into a single package, and by getting everyone to agree on this one sweeping deal, they managed to push progress forward on a bunch of different fronts all at once. And this chart, it does a brilliant job of showing where all that action was focused. It breaks down what the hundreds of new action plans are prioritizing. And you can see right away, the vast majority is centered on building knowledge, creating partnerships, and securing both public and private money. It's really about building the practical foundations for change.
And all this led to some really tangible progress. We saw a new green shipping corridor announced between Brazil and Europe to clean up trade routes, a massive $9 billion committed to regenerative farming to help heal our soils, and for the very first time, there was even a commitment to tackle climate disinformation, which, is a huge and growing barrier to action.
So, where does this mixed bag of a result, a huge win on money, but a really frustrating stalemate on fossil fuels, where does that actually leave us? Well, let's take a look at the path forward from Belém. So the conference leadership, they didn't just pretend the disappointment over fossil fuels didn't happen. The COP30 president openly acknowledged that, a lot of countries had bigger ambitions, and they proposed a way to try and bridge that gap.
Their solution was to launch 2 new, very focused roadmaps. One will specifically tackle deforestation, and the other one will be dedicated entirely to charting a just and orderly transition away from fossil fuels, the very issue that they couldn't solve in the main agreement. So, when you boil it all down, the COP30 scorecard is, well, it's definitely mixed. It delivered a major breakthrough on money, a really disappointing stalemate on the source of the problem. But it also saw a real surge of action in many other crucial areas. The path forward now really depends on whether these new, separate roadmaps can deliver where the main text could not. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. The world is moving, no doubt. But it seems to be moving on these parallel tracks of rapid progress and frustrating delay. Is this messy, 2 steps forward, 1 step back approach actually going to be fast enough to hold the line at 1.5 degrees Celsius? Honestly, only time will tell.